found the Laid Off Lads podcast, where three average guys from Central Florida discuss anything but average topics and have all the time to do it.
What is up, everybody?
Welcome to the Laid Off Lads podcast. I'm working with two imbeciles over here.
Cheers.
Cheers, Solange.
For breakfast.
Guinness for breakfast, Mr. Chris Boyce. And Phil, what are you having there, fella?
The Anticipate Me from Bowegians.
Very good choice. And I'm
After I just slammed down some coffee.
Boy, I have my Starbucks over here. But welcome, everybody, to the 14th edition of this Laid Off Lads podcast. As we ended last week, we're still trying to figure out a lot of how we do this podcast. We are loving doing this podcast. We are loving working on this podcast, but we're just trying to make it better and get you guys more involved and all that fun stuff. So thank you for your support so far, and we are continuing to figure out ways that we can kind of improve this endeavor of ours. Mm-hmm. Any particular cool you guys saw this past week?
When is it too early to drink beer?
Good question.
Never.
You gotta have a limit though, where you're like, this doesn't feel right.
You can't. You can't, because say that even you go out, you're technically drinking the next day. I usually go out and I don't get home till like 12:30, 1 o'clock, or if I really go out, I don't get back till 3 o'clock. So you're technically drinking until the next day. So you can never
about
just
3 o'clock in the morning.
Correct. Yeah, that's not why I slept in today. Which thank you for waking me up for this podcast.
See, I don't do that though. My life is totally different than yours, where it's home all day. So I'll pick up my son from school, get home about 3 o'clock, and I'm like, that's power hour for stocks, 3 to 4 before close. So there's a part of me that typically will pick him up from school, come home and be like, all right, I'm going to crack open a beer. Sometimes 3 o'clock feels early.
Nonsense. Earliest that I officially, like, if I started, not just like continued on from the night before, because if I've continued on from the night before, there was a UCF conference championship game when I was in school that beer pong was happening at 5 a.m., but we had already stayed up the entire day. It was the entire time. But actually starting 6 a.m.
That's college rules, though.
No, that's not
a
college
different
rules.
ballgame.
That's English football pub rules.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I used to live not far from the Celt, which is a downtown Irish pub here in the greater Orlando area, and they would be the only ones in town for the longest time to show Premier League games early on. And there was games at 7 a.m. and 7:30 because of the time difference, and they'd be open. So you get there at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and start to drink.
Yeah. In that case, you have to. I mean, you're out, You're in a pub. What if you're just home?
Good point. I don't know. It depends. It depends on like where you're at in the day you had, because some can say if you work like the third shift, you come home and you want to just decompress and have a beer. What time's that usually happening? 6, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. But they pass out and like that's their day. Their day is just reversed from ours.
Yeah.
This past week, I went to Dallas and ended up finding a Irish pub called Jack and Ginger's in Dallas. Boyce, you would have loved this place.
Nope, because it's in Dallas. Dallas.
Whoa, language.
Did you spit on the ground like I asked you to?
No, I did not. Well, I'm not going to piss off the good folks of Dallas by spitting on their ground. Anyways, I started to drink that morning at 9:45 a.m.
That's acceptable. That's a good time.
Because the match started at 10 a.m.
Airport drinking is another. There's certain things where you're like,
true.
all right, I used to do there's a mud volleyball tournament, charity tournament they had every year. I used to do that. It started at 8 a.m. That was one of those situations where it's like, man, you're drinking 7:30, 8 a.m. guaranteed. the Universal Golf Tournament that happened every year. Used to play in that. You're drinking at 8 a.m. What did you just say? What led up to that? I can't remember. See?
The beers that we all had, and then you had asked when the earliest to drink is.
Oh, you just said it, though.
Dallas.
Spitting on ground.
I'm just saying words that trigger him.
Guinness. Matches. Soccer. A lot of news on soccer this past week, for those of you that follow the sport. A lot of news in soccer this past week. The Super League thing. We won't go too much in. Yeah, we won't go too much into it because a lot of you out there aren't sports fans or soccer fans, but it's just one big calamity of a mess. Within 48 hours, certain teams were going to break off and others weren't going to, and there was an outcry from the public and pundits and social media, and within a 48-hour difference, the beep, 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 and the bus just backed up. Now everybody's apologizing and returning to old ways, and it's a mess of a thing.
Shows you what greed does.
Oh, exactly. Greed, money, and you kind of forget, you kind of get lost in the dollars and cents of everything and forget your way of what the sport's about and what fandom's about and what kind of makes these football teams, clubs, them. What's like there's been, I mean, especially in the last 10 years, what are some of like the best apologies or some of the like most crazy things that you're like, oh, I didn't know like Enron was going to occur, and now there's all these apologies about it all?
I think apologies are weak. I think everything these days are just so scripted. You got PR people. They're instructing these corporate heads to say, all right, this is what you need to say. This is how you need to say it. And there's no honesty behind it anymore. Corporations are huge. They run everything. They can be corrupt. It's all about the dollar. Whatever they do or say, it's just, I don't know. PR departments make apologies completely just superficial. And
now, Ferris, can you repeat what Boyce just said?
No, because I stepped away. I had gotten a text from Boyce, and we can hear Addie, and I tried an experiment of keeping the door open to see how that would be with the animals, and clearly she was a little too excited and wanted to play, and you hear pitter-patter, and throwing of ropes. So no, I cannot, but I believe it was somewhere along the lines of big corporations are all frauds and scam artists, and they, too far off. Now, I don't know. I just want to see somebody two-part for me. I want to see somebody sit there and face up to it and say, here's what happened. And then the actions speak with the words after that from a corporate side of things.
Go ahead.
And now that you said that, I would say probably not Lance Armstrong. I know I've said that in the past, but not Lance Armstrong. I think that was a sack of shit, and he didn't. It really killed that man's career. Now, on the flip side, I would say that someone who was not affected that greatly is Tiger Woods. Mm. That man made a comeback, but I mean, obviously, he keeps not getting the hint. But
is that the sex addiction one, or he has had a number of apologies, the drug use and the sex addiction?
But surprisingly, it never just bashes his character that much enough for people to stop loving the man.
I think it's also how you go about it. So like in Lance's case, he adamantly denied, and even went after and tried to prosecute people that were calling him a fraud, rather than maybe coming out apologizing early and then just moving into the shadows for a while and just sitting there and just waiting for stuff to blow over, because time will allow healing or things to blow over or people to kind of forget. He didn't do that. He adamantly went after folks and denied, and then flash forward 5-10 years down the road, and he's like, oh yeah, I did all that. And you're like, you fucking asshole.
That's because that was a roids talking.
But they were also threatening to strip him from gold medals, and
should have. I mean, I don't think you can amongst a pool of cyclists. Is that what they're called? That all doped
in the
up.
middle of the road.
Most of them were
All
doped up,
doped
though.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, all right, so he was first, but second through 12th were also doped up. So he
Right,
was the best at the doped up.
That's why I think like everything off was all about how he went about it and how he like handled it. If you think about with baseball, how many of those people came out and Roger Clemens and all these came out denied. Who was the one that he played with, Andy Pettit?
Yeah.
Came out and said, I did it, I'm sorry, and then we forget about him now. Because he kind of just came out. He kind of came out and said, yeah, but they all adamantly deny. He came out and said, yeah, I did it, and I just backed out of it, and we now kind of forget about him.
Yeah, athletes tend to take the denial card more than anybody else.
Who did?
Athletes tend to take the denial card.
Well, that's another thing to where money plays a factor into it. I wonder how much I can pay off someone to keep or sweep this under the rug, and then when they're actually caught and like the evidence is pushed out to the media, then it's time to be like, yeah, I got caught. Okay, yeah, my time to apologize. My fault. I mean, they're obviously going to try not to defamate themselves too much because they don't want to lose a fan base. They don't want to lose credibility. So, yeah, deny until evidence is proven. And then, yeah, it's your time to be like, I got caught. Okay, my bad. I apologize. I just think that big players or people of that type are going to try to throw money at people to bribe them or to sway an opinion or to keep it under wraps as long as possible.
Well,
and
here's
then
the thing.
Come out.
Does what you're apologizing for have an impact on that? Whereas a lot of these sports players are apologizing for performance-enhancing drugs. But if you get somebody out there from a Me Too apology or I made a racist or anti-Semitic comment, they're going to be more inclined to come up and say, my bad, versus somebody who took PEDs. Is it what you did that influences whether or not
yes,
you're apologizing?
Of course.
100%. I mean, because you can't, somebody taking, steroids to try to better their performance, they don't say, well, that's not harming anyone. That's not going to harm anybody where, I didn't kill anybody or I didn't, rape someone. It's two different things. And yes, it is. So I think there's a different level of what you're saying there, Boyce, with the apology aspects. And I didn't harm anybody, so I can deny this. And nobody knows that a syringe went in my ass and helped me to hit 15 more home runs a year. That's not going to harm anybody. That's just me. And you don't know that I actually got that, and until there's evidence of a doctor coming out and said they did that, deny, because they don't think they can get caught. Whereas you rape, kill someone, that's not just an apology. You're serving time.
I will say here's something that pisses me off. Something that pisses me off, and what I feel like is not necessary of that big of an apology, is when something surfaces from 15, 20 plus years ago. Say that you say something on your Twitter account or your Facebook account when you're a kid, when you're 16 years old, 17 years old, and you say something that obviously you were not mature enough to understand the ramifications, or even during that time, it wasn't that big of a deal. And now that obviously in the age that we're in now, you have to be insanely careful with what you say, and you have to walk on eggshells around every single person that you talk to. I don't like when something is brought up from 15, 20 years ago and they're like, you said this. Okay, yeah, well, I was also 15 at the time, not 35. But
Yeah,
I'm a lot more mature. I don't have the same beliefs because you just see how time matures you and you have a fuller, broader understanding of the ramifications of things that you say do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't appreciate that. And people having to come forward and be like, hey, I'm so sorry about what I said this when I was 15 years old. Didn't understand the meaning of it. That shit pisses me off. I understand where people are coming from. Young kids, immature, didn't understand. Now they do. I don't think it needs a sit-down public platform, media surfacing apology.
If anything, you should be apologizing for your stupidity for not going back to your Twitter feed from when you were a kid to double check it, knowing that you're coming out of college as the number one prospect.
But if you think about but if you think about the age that we're in, I mean, when MySpace, Twitter, Facebook, all of these things were brand new. No one knew that, okay, what you put out there, or, I mean, nobody really thought about it. I don't say no one knew, but your first thought was, I'm putting this out there. It's now out there forever, and anybody can access it. The thought was, oh, I think it's cool to do this, or I think this way, and so I'm going to put it out there. You fast forward 10 years, and now, I mean, athletes go through courses to be like, you know, don't just click send. Really think about what you're sending out there before you hit send.
Yeah,
because there's like warnings there, and that's what, you know, it's different times, but you're mature, you're better, we understand more, we know more. But yeah, if somebody shouldn't be completely condemned for something they said when they were 16 years old and probably posted something because they were high or just not knowing and just spewing off at whatever, and now they've changed, they've grown up, they're more mature, and they don't think that way. They're embarrassed of that. I mean, how many times have you look back on your own life and like, oh, man, I'm embarrassed on how I acted during that time or for a specific scenario or a certain experience. Like,
I've deleted many a Facebook memory as they pop up going 12 years ago. Here's your post from 12 years ago. I'm like, delete that.
Yeah.
That doesn't fly now. But if you're somebody who's coming up or you're somebody who's in the spotlight, knowing what everybody knows now and seeing what people have been through, I would be scouring through the earliest parts of my Twitter feed or social media feeds just to make sure.
And start over.
Yeah, true.
Delete and start over.
Yeah.
Delete and start over. Yeah, I mean, nowadays everything can be screenshot, saved, manipulated. You can't send online anymore. You have to have like a secure connection. It's ridiculous.
VPN.
VPN.
And then what's the one that you said there, Boyce? You search through DuckDuckGo or something?
DuckDuckGo. That just keeps your search history from, I don't know.
Sure, that's saved you from a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to look at my text thread. I'm a shock value kind of guy, right? I will text things to my daughter all the time that are just way, way off color that I shouldn't be saying just to rile her up for fun. And, you know, not things I necessarily believe, but I will say things that if you were to take my phone right now and look through it, I would be, God, I'd be burned at the stake. But again, most of it is just for me going, let's have some shock value fun and just rile people up. And there's no limit to what I'll say just to poke fun. And she knows
you're
it
like
now.
me ×2, man.
Yeah,
I thought I was bad. No, you take the cake.
Phil will
love
do
shock
that
value.
shit to me all the time. He'll just put something out there that he knows it isn't not true, but just know that I'll just get fumed on, and we'll just go back and forth.
Yeah.
But I
I
at
used
least
to
do
rile my
that.
wife up, but she gets it now. So when I say something that's like completely like, what the like she gets it. She's like, all right. Her motto is nobody makes you laugh like you. I'm like, that's right. I got a kick out of it. It's great. But God forbid if anybody sees those texts, I am done.
So what did you do when you turned in your work phone? That was your
I
personal phone.
was asked as I was cleaning out my office, our HR manager was like, here, I'll take your phone and wipe it and all that stuff and restart it and all that crap. I'm like, I think I left it in somewhere else, and I had it in my pocket. I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm relinquishing this phone to anybody before I personally make sure everything is gone. So I went through and deleted every text thread individually. I went through, I wiped it. I should have put it in the microwave.
I was going to say, I'm surprised you didn't burn it or just fry it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I told him, I said, I have to make sure my contacts transfer over to my new phone, which, again, I didn't have the personal phone. I milked the company for their
self-incrimination.
15 years. I didn't have a cell phone bill. So when people tell me their cell phone bill during that time, I'm like, holy, that's a lot of money. But I run the risk of doing what I do and saying what I say on a company phone. And thankfully,
cheap ass. You did not limit yourself to what you say on that phone.
We would be like, dude, that's a work phone that you're saying that on.
Yeah. But really, like, who's tracking texts? You know, who's going to spy? You think the company's got that kind of time or the ability to even look through people's threads?
CIA. It's not. It's come on. Yeah, it's not the CIA.
I was pulled into HR's office for quite a few things, and I was like, they ain't gonna see anything. Yeah. My ass was pulled into HR's office real quick. Oh, they caught me on a dime. Get out of here.
Yeah. So yeah, I wiped that thing clean, but I lost my contacts. That was a drawback.
If any of those things came out.
If people who know me, like they'll be like, that's Boyce.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. What if it
People
makes
know
like
that in my heart, I'm not a bad person. People know that I like just up twisted humor. So I think people who know me will be like, oh yeah, it's just Boyce being Boyce.
yeah,
But
as
if
you
you don't know me, then I'm
shove
the biggest
Gorilla
asshole
Glue.
on the planet.
Yeah, as you jam Gorilla Glue in someone's keyhole,
It's brilliant.
That's tame.
kill their grass.
You killed a cat.
That's true. You murdered a cat.
I did murder. I didn't murder a cat. It was suicide.
It was second-degree murder. It was manslaughter. Cat
Not
slaughter.
guilty.
Cat slaughter. Well, any other cool shit this week that you guys have noticed or seen?
The world's still burning.
It is.
It's a little bit
Off again.
brighter, but
Ryan started the fire. See, Ferris won't get that.
no. So I watch The Office. At least once a freaking episode, once an episode we talk about Office, which I have not seen. I will inform you guys when I see
like that. He didn't say that's The Office. How did you know that was The Office?
Because anything that's like, oh, Ferris won't get that on this pod 9 times out of 10. It's The Office.
Yeah.
Because you need to watch it.
No, I understand that. Each of you made your points very
Okay.
clear.
Okay.
I do need to watch that one. I would rather watch that one before I watch the other one.
You gotta watch a season of Letterkenny. Like, get it really. Don't be like after 1 or 2 episodes going. Once you get the characters down, God, it's brilliant. It's amazing.
Yeah, I even have a Dwight bobblehead.
I do
That
too.
that was my voice of reason at work. Should we write him up?
I had a Sheldon bobblehead.
I had a coin of decision to where I've made people have
Are you
kept and lost
Two-Face?
jobs
What do you
based
do?
off of a
Yeah,
quarter.
right. Two-Face.
I had a
Decision?
quarter. I had a quarter on my desk that I had for probably about 10, 15 years. And there were a number of instances where disciplinary measures could have gone either way, like a suspension or termination. And we couldn't figure it out. And so I flipped this quarter and made decisions based off of that. And you know what?
You're Two-Face.
You are never going back to that company.
No.
Ever. After they listen to this, they're going to be like,
Not after
this
that.
mother.
This is like pre-2000 Boyce. So once the century turns, everything is wiped away. But there was one decision towards termination or suspension. And I was leaning towards termination because this person didn't accept any accountability for what they did. I was on vacation, had to come in during my Thanksgiving vacation. I was sick as hell with 103 fever, still had to come in and administer this thing. And so before this person got there, I did the flip. I'm like, all right. And it was suspension. So I'm like, damn it. Let me flip it again. Boom. Suspension. Boom. I flipped this coin 7 times in a row and it came up heads 7 times in a row. It wasn't the coin of decision at that time, but once this thing, I'm like, all right, this thing knows what's up. And I went that route and the person was just like, I'm just pissed off that the process took so long. I'm like, son of a bitch, this saved your job. And I always trusted that quarter.
Okay, there. So, hey, everyone who's listening to this podcast, if you were fired by Christopher Boyce from the year 2008 to 2020, you might have a legal case.
It was, I would say like 95 to 2002.
2000.
Yeah.
I was 5 years old then. Okay.
Before
Jeez.
I2K.
So, yeah, if that's the case, I mean, by all means, feel free to go to Universal HR. Appeal it. And then you can look forward to an apology video from Christopher Boyce.
Again, the dates were 1995 to 2000.
Good God. Imagine being in the hot seat, sweating your ass off, and like wondering
You
got
put
some
yourself
dude
there. You put
with
yourself there.
with a frayed haircut, just
I didn't do it.
flipping a coin across from you, and he's like,
I didn't do it.
no, let me do it
I did
again.
in their
Oh,
presence.
no.
Yeah, that
But I
would
always
be
had a
something.
witness, though. I always had a witness to make sure that they saw it.
Good
I
God.
would.
That doesn't
I'd
make,
be
that
in the
doesn't make
office
it,
and say,
no,
"Hey,
that's
Yeah,
not a
now you're
witness,
making
an
it an accomplice.
Yeah,
It's
Yes.
not a wit-
Yeah. So
Hey,
if I'm
Phil, I
going
need you in
down,
the
somebody
office
else is
real
going
quick.
down too. Nobody
What
could
would
rat
you
on me because I had a different witness every time. So there were enough witnesses to say, hey, if I go down, there's a lot of other people going down.
So then you all would be brought up on
God,
RICO charges because you incorporated a whole bunch of other people.
You're like the head
We're
of a
going
mafia.
mafia here.
Incorporated everybody. Yeah, you created a mob. That's exactly what you did.
Hey, I'm down with that. Mob
Chris
rules,
Boyce's
dude.
mob.
Yeah.
I wouldn't snitch on you, but
Sometimes
good God, if
this
I
is
just
a
imbibe you
frequent
and you're
thing.
flipping a quarter, I'm scared for my life now.
I'm like,
It's
oh,
not a
God.
frequent thing, but
Why is he
sometimes
flipping a quarter?
decisions need to be made.
Just think, you're
My
not
child,
Harvey
my
Dent.
child was born because of a coin flip.
You're what?
My child was born because of a coin flip. Do we keep this or do we? No, I'm just totally f***ing with you. That's shock value.
Shock value. That's the
That's
shock
shock
value. Yes.
It's
Way to
heads on
bring it
both
all back.
sides.
You
Oh, my
couldn't.
God.
You may not have been here right now on this earth if it was tails. I'm gonna text my daughter that. She doesn't listen to this podcast.
Everybody, that's the shock
That's
value.
that's
we're
an example of
talking
my shock value type thing. Boy, it was so
about.
close. Did you have a rough day today? Well, let me tell you how rough it could have been. That tails.
All right, that's a smooth segue into our topic of the week. Phobias.
Ooh.
Was this
How
sent
is
in
that a
or
smooth
did,
transition into a
I
phobia?
know. That was the whole point.
Firing phobia?
Hiring phobia. Did you guys, was this sent in or was this something that Boyce you thought of or somebody
No,
thought
I
of?
was getting a discussion with we had this month of April, we have like 6-7 members of our family all have birthdays, so we had a big birthday celebration to get them all out of the way this past weekend. My brother-in-law was talking about having an MRI for a shoulder injury, and I walked in the room just as he said that. I'm like, oh, f-. He's like, you don't like him either? I'm like, dude, I've got 2 phobias in life: MRI machines and deep ocean water. I've had probably about 4 MRIs in my life, and being stuck in that tight ass tube, knowing that if something were to happen, you can't get out. I'm not claustrophobic. You can stick me in a small closet. I got no problem. Most confined spaces, no problem. But when you're stuck in that tube, there's no way in hell. I was in the hospital probably about a year ago, and they had to take an MRI of my brain to make sure I didn't have like a stroke or something. And I'm in the hospital for like 2 or 3 days. They wake me up at 3 a.m, wheel me into this room. I'm like, where are we going? Oh, we got to get your MRI now. So I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. I'm like, all right, I'm tired. I'll sleep through it. I'll close my eyes. It'll be cool. They put me on this table and put headphones on so I can listen to music. I'm all right. This is good. This is good. But then they put this like vice on your head to keep it totally still. So this vice starts clamping down on the headphones. I'm like, God, I can't move my head. All right, whatever. Then they put this cage over your face. I don't know what purpose it serves, but it's about 2 inches from your face, and it just goes click. And as soon as I saw that, my body just went into like nope mode. And I said, get me out of this thing now. They're like, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't do MRIs. Like, I can't be stuck in that tube. Now you got this clamp on my head. You got this cage on my face, and your body just goes into a defense mode to where you can't rationalize out of it. So like, hey, we'll give you an IV of Xanax, which will totally just calm you down.
Then your eyes lit up and you're like, oh,
yeah, it sure did.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
But I immediately said, nope, I'm not doing it. So for me to turn down an IV of Xanax really says something. So I go back and they're like, all right, whatever. And the next day the cardiologist comes in and is like, so what happened with the MRI? I said, dude, I know it sounds irrational and I know there's no logic for it, but my body has a response and it just says no fucking way. He's like, so we're here to figure out what's wrong with you, right? Yes. You want to find out what's wrong with you, right? Yes. You want to know if you had a stroke, right? Yes. Then we need to do this MRI. And I said, nope.
He pulled.
I'd rather die.
He pulled a parent on a kid move with you,
Yeah.
and backed you into a corner, and you. Oh man.
Yeah, I stuck to it. Eventually, I went to an open MRI because
remember,
Dr.
yeah,
Phillips Hospital didn't have an open MRI. So I got that done in another place. It's like a huge donut. So you're not going into this tube. But I don't know what it is. When we were kids, my brother and I used to have this, I don't know why, in our house was this giant foam pad like under carpeting. And we used to roll each other up in it like a Swiss roll. And once you get rolled up in that, you can't move. And then you start torturing them, just like poking at their face and and it just brings back memories of being confined and not being able to move. Once you can't move or get out, that's me up.
So do you know what that's called? Like, do you know what your specific with the MRI phobia is called?
I don't know. I don't know if there's another level beyond claustrophobia. Like I said, I can handle most spaces if I know I can get out. But when you're into a place where your arms can't even move and something's right above your head, like that sort of confined space, like a coffin.
Breathe through your nose. That's what I always like. Just like try to calm your body down and breathe through your nose. That always, for some reason.
Yeah, even when I did the second
or anything.
Okay, there, Mother Teresa. Good
I closed my eyes and just thought, open sky, open sky.
What? No, you're not a fucking bird. Like that doesn't have any.
You close your eyes and just think you're not confined. Just think of like an open space.
Like I can understand you freaking out, but like, imagine if that cage closed over your face and then just in your headphones it just yells a big deep voice of cage match.
Rain and wind. I still wanted that fucking IV. I should have told the cardiologist, can I still get that IV of Xanax? Just
because. But no.
So that in deep oceans. I won't go into the ocean. If I'm in a deep water where I don't know what's below, you think
what about a cruise?
No, I can't swim. Like I don't want to be physically in water.
Wait, you can't swim?
No, I don't want. If I'm in the water, not on a cruise ship, that's fine. It floats. But I don't want to be.
Can you swim?
Water.
Can Christopher Boyce swim?
Yeah, 100%. But I don't want to be in water that's so
there.
deep I can't see what's below me.
I don't know why I don't believe that.
Dude, I grew up in a pool. I had a single mom who chucked us out at the pool every day, every every summer. That's our
cool,
baby.
but how many inflatable things were on your arm when she threw you in? That doesn't qualify as swimming.
None. I can swim.
She just told me to kick my legs and I'd stay afloat.
That one seems common though. Like, I mean, for me, it's not. I mean, I'm a Gulf Coast boy, so there's been times where you're just like, I don't know what the f***'s below me, but whatever. Something comes up and grabs me. Something comes up and grabs me.
Remember that movie? I was talking earlier about that movie where the couple were deep sea diving and the boat left without them, and they were just stranded in the middle of the ocean by themselves. Like that movie is
terrifying.
Yeah,
well, not
and the
for
sharks
nothing,
start coming in. And
you don't resemble a seal too often. I mean, not many. One shark's gonna look at you and they're like, "Why the hell is there a twig in the water?" No, thank you.
Yeah. I don't know.
A little snack.
Phil, you got any phobias?
I can join you in the ocean one.
What's that one called? Does anybody know?
The Genophobia. I don't do deep ocean. It does. Because when you go past like my nipples are the cutoff gate, and I'm like, no, I'm going back.
If you think about it, if you're in the deep ocean and you're swimming, what's down below you? Like anything could be down there. Anything is down there. Not could be, is.
And that was my argument.
Butcher this. Hold on.
Oh god.
Thalassophobia. Thalassophobia is a type of specific phobia that involves persistent and intense fear of deep bodies of water, such as the ocean or sea.
Yep, there you go. Sounds like an STD, but
it does.
Yeah, I have no problem like snorkeling, or I don't think I could scuba dive. Snorkeling I can do, but that's also because you can see around
like half above and half,
But I also have to be around other people who I feel like could be a greater victim than me. If I know I can outswim the person to my left, I'm going to swim next to you.
It's not a survival of the fittest thing.
It absolutely is. That's how my mind works. I'm like, okay, I know I can outrun you.
Thalassophobia. That's what you guys have.
Okay.
What is it?
Well, but there's a difference. There's a difference between being in the ocean. I don't even like going in like past my hips, because the water's just so murky. You absolutely do not understand. And then when you start to see like drone footage, you're like, oh, today at New Smyrna Beach, and there's like a flock of sharks like 10, 20 yards from people.
I think it's called schools. I don't think it's called flocks.
It's either school or a pod.
A murder of sharks.
A pod of sharks. What look up what a group of sharks is. I know dolphins are pods.
Yeah.
I like flock.
A group of sharks.
Crows are a murder.
I'm pretty sure it's a school of sharks, but let's go.
I think it's school.
I think
it's school. A shiver of sharks. That's what's the first thing that pops up. Yeah, a shiver. One of our favorite collective nouns on the list is the group of sharks is a shiver.
Huh.
Yeah, so I did not know that either.
Imagine how cool you would sound if you say, "I see a shiver of sharks."
Well, think you're a nutcase.
Good God. So yeah, that
Whales
one,
are
and
wild,
then
too.
the arachnophobia. I do not do spiders
Really?
at freaking all. And I think that has a thing with me being tall, somewhat tall, and Ferris, you can chime
I'm
in
fine
too.
with
But
spiders.
okay, but how many times have you been walking and the person in front of you has no problem, and then you just walk behind them and you get a face full of web just straight in your mouth?
Oh, it happened to me the other day while taking out the trash.
Yeah.
You freak out, but I'm not like terrified
Oh.
of it every time I step outside.
We keep spiders in the corner of our ceilings. We don't get rid of them because of
They
mosquitoes.
kill
and
off
shit.
insects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd
Heard
hate
of
our
that.
house.
How many mosquitoes in your house?
Our screen door's f***ed up, so my son goes in and out the backyard all the time. So he'll leave the
Go
damn
fix
door
it.
open. And I should. Oh, we need a new one. Like I need to buy one.
So buy one. You
Buy
hit
one
big
on
window
Amazon.
this week.
I
Yeah.
should.
Install it.
I should.
If you need help, let me know. I'll come over.
All right.
We'll consult with good old Steve.
Steve.
Steve's the man.
Steve.
How to do anything. So, Boyce, you have fear of MRIs, which I can't really find anything about that.
I
and
looked it up
fear
too,
of
and
deep
it's just
water.
claustrophobia.
Phil has fear of deep water.
And the
fear
arachnophobia,
of arachnophobia. I was getting there.
which
I was getting there.
is weird because as a kid, I would have no problem, again, floating down rivers, just going into like the deep woods. For some odd reason, like me and friends like had an obsession with just catching snakes, and didn't matter, non-poisonous, poisonous, catch snakes, put them in pillowcases, cool. My mom threw a fit when we would come home with just random snakes and just be like, "Oh,
Jake
cool,
the
look what
Snake
we've got."
Roberts.
Yeah. No, had no problem with any of that. Swimming with gators, nothing. But for some reason, just those 8-legged fucks just petrified me. Petrified me.
Hmm.
I cannot stand them. I'll do cockroaches, just random bugs. Spiders, the away from me. No, thank you.
Hate cockroaches. Have you ever come across a wolf spider?
Yes.
That are like big as your hand.
These are massive.
Mhm.
God.
I've seen the Australian ones, the Australian spiders that are like bigger than your head.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Those wolf spiders down here, you can't. They're not something you just smush and like swat. Like the small
Oh.
spiders, you can swat with a shoe. You
Get
got
a
to,
flamethrower.
yeah, you got to do something. You got to like trap it and just take it outside because if you smush that thing, it's just like.
I'm not trapping it. I'm burning that bitch.
What about
Glenn?
you, Ferris?
I think everybody knows my fear of Brussels sprouts.
Is it a fear or just a
It's everything.
distaste for them?
It's a disgust. I don't know if it's actually a fear. Like I'm not like I could see it. I'm not like terrified of it. So I don't think I could call that a phobia necessarily. But it's the closest thing I could think of.
Is it like
So-
a cat with a cucumber?
What?
What?
Cat and a cucumber.
How does that have to do with the price of tea in China?
You've never seen videos of a cat and a cucumber?
No.
I'll have to send it to you after. Basically, like a cat's like eating food or something, and a person puts a cucumber behind the cat, and when the cat finally notices it, it freaks out. I'll have to send you a video of it after this.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I imagine that being
Yeah.
you with a Brussels sprout.
That's like I said, I could see it if somebody's eating it somewhere. I could see it. You know, I'm not like I'm not like petrified of it. You know, but I did look up and see what that was called, and it's I don't know. Somebody said that a shrewd 10-year-old has tried to claim that Arachnophobia is one for Brussels sprouts.
Who the names these phobias?
I don't know.
Why
is
can't they
apparently
just
a
be
10-year-old.
normal?
A
It's like
10-year-old.
Latin derivatives.
Yeah, a 10-year-old said this. The only other thing is, again, I don't know if that's a phobia because I have killed cockroaches more times than I can think. But the ones that like terrify me are those mother that can fly.
Yes.
The ones that
Oh, yeah.
they're mainly palmetto bugs. But those that can fly at you, like right when you're getting ready to whack it with a shoe, and that bitch takes off and flies,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, like you just get terrified.
Agreed.
That's
The worst is when you can't find it. When it
Yes.
when it flies away,
Yep.
you don't know
Yeah.
where the hell it went, or if it's by your bed set,
oh, yeah.
you know you're not sleeping in bed tonight.
Yep.
And
But,
you
like,
have
I'm
to
not-
find it.
I'm not like I don't know. I don't know if I would call that a phobia because most of them Just go get a shoe, boom, killed, done.
Yeah.
But the minute you pull back and you go to swing, and that thing takes off, you're like, oh, this is a different kind of beast. Like,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Another
Yeah,
time
you're
a
spot on with
flamethrower
that.
comes into it.
That's
Gotta
called.
get the flamethrower.
That's true. I've probably butchered all of these. Phobia? I don't know. I somebody else can try to.
Does it have an audio thing next to it? Just click it and see what it says.
No, it's just on whatever. It's fear of cockroaches phobia.
I hate cockroaches.
Phobia. I don't know, but I guess those would be my two. I don't. Heights don't overly bother me. A lot of people have a phobia of heights. Like, I'm usually okay with heights. It's if I start to get in my head about heights, like thinking of, if you're like standing towards an edge of something or like a railing, like it doesn't take a lot for somebody to come over and like push you over the railing, you're dead. Once I start thinking about that, then my mind goes to, oh, that's possible. That could happen. What would I do? I'd be dead. That would be terrifying. Like, your mind just starts to go through all of these things. But most times on a plane or roller coaster or top of a tall building, I'm not too. That doesn't necessarily bother me that much. What are some of the other like common phobias?
I don't know, but I typed it into the Google Translate
Clowns.
for some reason. It has some African woman pronouncing it.
What? What are you talking about? For cockroaches?
Yeah, like the sounds like she's from like Kenya or something. Like that accent. For some reason she's the Google Voice person for me for Catsaridiophobia. You know how like Catsaridiophobia.
That's yeah.
The clown phobia is an interesting one. I've known some people who have hardcore clown phobias.
Clown phobias, yeah. Michael Myers phobia.
That's an actual thing?
Yes.
Are you looking up top
is.
phobias?
I've dealt with many times.
These are people that people that we know. I mean, there's, I don't know, fear of like the dark, I'm sure, is one of the big phobias.
Oh, I had that as a kid, man.
Fear of drowning, fear of being lit on fire. Those are probably some of the most common phobias, I would think.
All right, here are the 10 strangest phobias you will ever come across. Uh-oh. Oh, actually, some of these are pretty legit. I would never even think of that. So, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Number 10, telephonobia. What do you think that one is?
Speaks for itself.
Fear of telephones.
Fear of making a phone call or taking a phone call.
I don't say I have a fear of that, but I sure as hell, whenever a phone call comes, I'm like, son of a bitch. I don't like talking to people on the phone.
True.
I don't like accepting phone calls.
Actually, it makes kind of sense.
Phobia,
It does.
Because people
All right.
people don't like to talk on the phone sometimes and answer phone calls and so okay, that makes sense.
So I'm just gonna name. I got 9 more. I'm just gonna name the phobia. You guess what you think it is.
Let's do it.
Nomophobia.
The fear of saying no.
No.
No,
Boys. Nomophobia.
sounds Japanese. No clue.
It's not Japanese. It is the fear of not having mobile phone access.
That's ridiculous.
That's the Gen. What is it?
We said we're
Gen
not talking
Z?
about Gen Z anymore. You put a
true.
limit
So it's
on
the
me.
opposite of number 10.
It is the opposite of number 10.
Essentially, yeah. That's
Well,
true.
well, you think about it. Your cell phone, your mobile phone
That's
is your
now.
life.
Yeah.
It is your
Very
life.
true.
You have everything in it.
Yep.
And I in a sense can understand that because it pops in your head. Where the is my phone? Where's my phone at?
And there's like a
I
panic
need my
that sets
phone.
in like
It
instantly.
is.
Yep.
Because everything is on there.
Especially with
Even in
Boyce,
your
because that is
notes, you have-
incriminating evidence if
Yeah.
he ever loses his
Oh,
phone.
1,000%. He's going to have to make a ton of apology videos if that's the case. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'll just have a standard apology video, but the one I'm apologizing for just
changes it.
yeah,
It's just going
changes
to
it.
cut to another screen. All right. Phobophobia.
Fear of phobias.
Phobophobia?
It is fear of
Fear of
having a
phobias?
phobia.
You've
Fear
heard
of
that one
having
before, boy.
phobia.
No, I haven't. It just makes sense.
That makes
Phobophobia.
sense. Okay, cool.
That
That was number
was
8.
that was number 8. Number 7, anthophobia.
Fear of archaeological digs.
Ooh, no.
Anthophobia.
Anthophobia. If you know, like, good God, I don't know how to pronounce number 6.
Anthropology.
It is the fear of flowers.
Oh,
What the?
Wow. That's number 7?
That's number 7.
Wow,
Anthophobia.
I don't think I would have guessed that.
What the? I don't even know how to pronounce this, and it's not even letting me copy and paste it. But it's hexacosiohexocontahexopho.
fear of the number 6.
Ooh, are you kidding me?
Did you get that right?
Fear of number 666.
Oh, that would make sense. Well,
yeah.
that would make sense. That's a very demonic type. Wow. Okay. And it's
And
funny
then
that's
number
number
13.
6 on the list, right?
Yes. You pulled up this article, didn't you? Heliophobia.
Fear of dying by
The
use
sky.
of helium.
No, Boyce is close again.
Mm.
Boyce is close. It's a fear of sunlight.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Jeez. Pale
Wow.
mother.
Ooh, this one could be me too. Now I'm learning about fears I've never had before. This one is chorophobia.
Fear of the eyeball.
Ooh, which I do have. I do not like eyeballs.
A lot of people
Where
don't like
put
that.
in contacts and
I've licked an
abs-
eyeball before.
Huh?
Fear of drinking
I've licked an
Corona.
eyeball before on a bet.
You and one of my performers, like
Licked an eyeball?
for some reason,
Yeah.
they were like, "I'll lick your
Talk about
eyeball." I'm
coming
like,
anywhere
"Oh,
near my eyeball.
It was a bet. I took it.
That's ridiculous.
And you licked an eyeball?
You don't
You
want
need
to do
an
that
apology video.
nowadays.
Yeah.
You need to have an apology video for that.
By
That's
tomorrow.
disgusting.
By
That's
tomorrow.
disgusting.
It was consensual. So
Yeah, sure it was.
2 consenting adults.
Okay.
So what's the cornophobia?
Chorophobia is the fear of dancing.
A lot of people, I think, especially like males, probably
White
have that when
guys?
they yes. White guys that go to weddings that want to just stand in the corner. Yeah, 100%. I can see that.
It's true. I mean, you put on any electric slide, the cha-cha slide, anything like that, I'm out.
Do you guys know any of those choreographed dances?
What
I
does that
could.
mean?
It
The
depends how
electric
much.
slide on
those?
cha-cha where people do them at weddings. I'm like, I have no clue. How
I'm
any of
like
that
a
stuff goes.
seer, so if I see, I could follow along with people. Like if you're telling me to do it right now, I'd be lost. But if I'm with a group and I'm seeing everybody else do it, I'll just follow along with what they're doing.
The best is when you're just slapped heavy with just alcohol, and in your mind you're like, "Oh, I've got this down to
I'm
a
killing
T," and then the video surfaces, and you're like, "I'm way off beat. I'm so off cue." But in your head, you're like, "Yeah, I got this down." That's me. That's why I just resort to EDM, just jumping up and down, fist bumping. Yes, correct. That's me. Okay, number 3, ablutophobia.
The fear of those vape pens that are called blue.
Ooh, no. Ablutophobia.
No clue.
It is a fear of bathing.
Jeez. Is that bathing
Like
or
any
showering
kind of
included?
Yeah.
Does not. This is the fear of bathing because a person does not want to be cleaned. This should not be confused with a hydrophobia, which is the fear of water.
That's just 3? Or I'm sorry, that's number 3 on the list?
That's number 3 on the list.
Wow, which means it's probably
Fear of
like
bathing.
high up there.
It could be. No,
These-
this is again.
these are the
this
most,
is,
like,
this is the
oddest ones.
weirdest. This is a weird one.
And where is this at? Where's this list? You want to get the site?
No, I'm not giving the site because you're going to
Why
look
not?
at the number 2 and 1.
No,
You're
I'm
gonna
not.
cheat.
No, just so we give credit to those that are putting out this list. That's all.
So this is emtv.com.pg. So
What
these are the
the
PG.
hell does that mean?
No clue. What is
All right.
PG? Patagonia?
Parental guidance?
Parental
I don't know if they have their own domain.
I know. All right. Number 2 on the list. Spectrophobia.
The fear of wearing glasses.
Fear of my
No,
shitty internet service.
Close. No, that's spectrum phobia.
That is spectrum.
And I think that 75% of Florida has
Florida,
that issue.
yeah.
Fear of losing my damn internet.
That one is the fear of mirrors or one's own
Mhm.
reflection,
Yeah, I knew it was something to do with sight and
which I can
Wow.
understand that. I mean, that's
That
a
makes- yeah.
lot of people with body dysmorphia or someone that struggles with seeing their own reflection. I don't like mirrors. I guess I could say that. I mean, I have 2 mirrors in my house, and those are the 2 in my bathroom.
Well, they also, in any thoughts, are portals to the other world.
Okay, you try jumping through one, and you let me know how that goes.
Not jumping through, not portals and that, but like they have been used in things to summon a gateway between us and the afterlife in a way.
No, that's a dude named Ted on the opposite side of your 2-way mirror. Looking good today, Glenn.
Looking good.
All right,
and we're in there, chat.
Number one. Genophobia.
It's not
The fear of knowing your ancestry.
False.
It's not the fear of genes, is it? It's not that literal.
It's Geno phobia. Geno. Not the fear of denim.
Geno or whatever.
I got a fear of Calvin Klein.
Hate them Levi's.
Get that shit away from me. Can't go to Cowboys or saddle up. That.
What's genophobia?
Genophobia. It is the fear of sexual relations.
Ooh.
Also known as the Bill Clinton phobia. I would say that because he said I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Just with that woman.
I was afraid of sexual relations.
I mean,
with that woman.
I'm sure that's a common one as well, and probably like goes in line with the number 2 on the list. If
so, this one is described as victims of molestation are the most common of sufferers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
sexual relations and negative emotions.
Yeah, I bet you that's a lot more common, unfortunately. Than
it's not for like the 40-year-old version, Steve Carell.
Yeah, that's more what I was getting.
Yeah, no,
that just ended the list in a dark turn.
It really did.
Wow.
Okay, that was a fun list.
That was a fun list. Thank you, Phil, for bringing that up. And what was the site name again, so we can give credit to them?
The site name is philjustexited.com.
Just rewind the pod a little bit and I'll be able to tell you. Fair enough. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in once again for this episode of Laid Off Lads. We certainly appreciate it. You can hear us and see us on, we can hear us mainly on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. You can see us on YouTube, and you can access all of those via our website, www.laidofflads.com. We are also on Facebook and Instagram, Laid Off Lads. You gents got anything else?
Nope.
No.
Cool. Thank you all. We will see you next week. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Laid Off Lads podcast. And if you're hiring, well, you know where to find us.